The ANC Integrity Commission has finally met with President Cyril Ramaphosa. The Commission requested a meeting with the President in 2018 when the issue of BOSASA and his CR17 campaign funds were raised. However, the Commission said it was disappointed that it did not deal extensively with the matter, as President Ramaphosa said it is still before the courts. The Commission, however, instructed anyone with undisputed evidence of vote buying at the ANC 2017 elective conference, which elected Ramaphosa as party president, to urgently take the matter to the disciplinary committee. Ramaphosa is the second highest ANC official to appear before the Integrity Commission after the party's Secretary General Ace Magashule last week. The Integrity Commission instructed Magashule to step aside following his corruption case relating to the multi-million rand asbestos project while he was premier in the Free State. For more on the report via Skype, we now talk to SABC News senior political reporter Samkela Maseko. A very good morning and welcome to the agenda, Samkela.
A very good morning to you. It's rather interesting that the Integrity Commission report on President Cyril Ramaphosa has come out. What is glaringly obvious is that the president essentially told the Integrity Commission that the CR17 campaign funds matter, and the issue of the donation by African Global Operations, formerly trading as BOSASA, through its late former CEO, Gavin Watson, is sub judice, and that he will not be discussing the matter until the issue is fully ventilated in the courts of law.
What does this actually mean then for the Integrity Commission? Because one would say that following the Magashule matter and the request for him to step aside, and now with Ramaphosa telling them that the funding and where the source of the funding came from for his CR17 campaign is sub judice, one would say that the Integrity Commission has lost its teeth.
Not necessarily to say that the Integrity Commission has lost its teeth. One also begs the question, has it ever had teeth? It's like pretty much like saying the ANC Youth League, those lions can still roar, when you can clearly see that they've got no teeth anymore, they've got no bite in them, they've got no roar in them anymore. They are basically cubs. So it basically tells you that the Integrity Commission, when you look at historically, in its sense, from the days of the late it tells you that he grew increasingly frustrated with the Integrity Commission's recommendations not being implemented by the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress in the era of former President Jacob Zuma. In this instance, you've got an ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa who's postponed his engagement with the Integrity Commission for over 18 months. If I am not mistaken, it was the ANC's National Executive Committee meeting of the 29th of the 28th to the 30th of August that the president then, when he was addressing that particular press briefing of the top six, virtually, that he said that the NEC meeting then felt and endorsed the president's submission that he would volunteer himself to go to the Integrity Commission of the party to go and seek clarity and provide answers when it comes to the CR17 campaign funds that he used to become the president of the African National Congress. Subsequent to the meeting that the president had with the Integrity Commission on the 19th of November, he then comes with his legal advisor, then is told by the Integrity Commission that you can't come with the legal team to this political event or political engagement with the Integrity Commission. He then opts to leave his legal advisor outside, and he then goes into the meeting with the Integrity Commission for 2.5 hours virtually, but says, I can't discuss, or I feel uncomfortable in discussing the issues of the CR17 campaign funds, because the matter is still between a court of law, and I will only be comfortable once it is fully ventilated in courts of laws and it's done there, and thus puts the seal on the matter for it not to be discussed, because it is essentially saying the matter is sub judice. I can't say anything about it at this point in time, which is also a battle that the president of the ANC, in his capacity also as the president of the Republic of South Africa, through that complaint by the then leader of the Democratic Alliance, Mmusi Maimane, of the 500,000 rands donation from African Global Operations to, which was, he said, the president, that it was money between a contract that was there between his son, Andile Ramaphosa, and also Gavin Watson's company, African Global Operations, which later came out not to be true, as in fact it was a donation from the corruption-accused company that used to manage correctional services facilities on behalf of the Department of Correctional Services, particularly being that site of Lindela in South Africa, one of them, which is under Home Affairs, rather. So you've essentially got the president who's refused to answer questions of the Integrity Commission, using the ticket of the matter of it being sub judice, and the Integrity Commission becoming increasingly frustrated and concerned with the president's continued postponement of his engagements with the Integrity Commission for over 18 months.
What is this going to do for the sentiment towards the president?
Essentially, it doesn't change much when it comes to the political machinations within the governing party. Those who support the president will continue supporting the president. Those who are his political nemesis and his political detractors will continue being there and will continue trying to hold him to account, and particularly using the issue of the CR17 funds. For instance, in the letter of the Integrity Commission, it clearly says that the issue of the CR17 funds was increasingly being used as a divisive matter within the divisions and the factions of the African National Congress. It's also stated there by George Mashamba, the chairperson of the Integrity Commission. It also states that they were increasingly seeing the blurring of lines from the president of the issues of the legal aspect of his case in the courts of law and the political complaints within the governing party of the CR17 funds. We've had numerous ANC leaders saying that if the ANC were to deal thoroughly with the issues of vote buying, of corruption, they must go back to NASREC of the ANC conference, of the 54th National Conference in 2017, where there were allegations that vote buying was at its highest. For instance, you've also had the likes of the former president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, who said that people were bought with money to vote for a particular perspective at the 54th National Conference of the ANC. And the president of the ANC goes into detail in his submission to the Integrity Commission over the issues of the ANC coming up with clear, proper guidelines of internal campaigns within the governing party, and also those campaign funds that are being sourced being subjected to issues of tax when it comes to the monetary compliance with the South African Revenue Services here and tax compliance here in South Africa. The president also goes on in depth to come up with new ways of proposing these particular guidelines, as opposed to the current methods of campaigns that you have within the governing party. George Mashamba also going on to say that it is rather interesting that the president come up with these various ideas of how to manage internal campaigns, internal donations for internal campaigns within the governing party. But what is very clear as well is that the Integrity Commission itself is not very pleased with the president of the ANC, because he promised to send a 69-page representation he had promised to come with to the Integrity Commission engagement. To date, the president has not sent that 69-page proposal or 69-page presentation he had prepared for his engagement with the Integrity Commission, which George Mashamba says they are very disappointed in the president in that instance, that they've not gotten the 69-page representation that he had promised to send to them.
And now the Commission has asked anybody with undisputed evidence of vote buying to come to them.
Yes, the Integrity Commission, like any other, the African National Congress itself, after NASREC, after the allegations of vote buying by some leaders of the African National Congress against the president of the ANC, and those who were in line with the president of the Fourth National Conference, particularly when the CR17 campaign bank statements were leaked and the various money sent to various ANC leaders. Some ANC leaders did complain that vote buying did take place, and then they were called upon to come and provide evidence at the ANC's National Disciplinary Committee, NDC, which has yet to receive any a proof of any vote buying. The ANC itself has not proven, but the ANC itself as an organization has admitted that many of its conferences, vote buying does take place in the manipulation of outcomes of conferences. Even the president of the ANC in 2017, when he effectively and officially launched his campaign to gun for the ANC presidency in Uitenhage in the Eastern Cape, did say that money bags are now starting to crisscross the length and breadth of the ANC branches in order to influence the results of the 54th National Conference. So he himself has been very conscious of vote buying that has taken place in ANC conferences from branch level to zonal level, regional level, provincial level, and ultimately escalates to the national level of the African National Conference, which is a national elective conference, that money is being used to influence the outcomes of ANC electoral processes. And there needs to be clear guidelines to do this. For instance, if you go to one of the recent comments by the former president of South Africa and former deputy president of the African National Congress, Kgalema Motlanthe, he states that the issues of monies being used in the African National Congress has even been removed from the ANC constitution, which was adopted at the 54th National Conference. So this raises the question, what is the ANC practically doing to try and curb the issues of vote buying at its own conferences?
Samkele, part of the report that I'm actually going through now was that the president suggested some guidelines that should address this. One would assume, however, that a party with the heritage of the African National Congress, these kinds of things would have been long time ironed out.
The issues of guidelines when it comes to internal campaigns of the African National Congress is something that has recently come up to the fore, particularly within the last 5 years. You remember when Ronald Lamula, the ANC, NEC, and NWC member, and also Minister of Correctional Services and Justice in the country, he raised the issues of the ANC coming up with proper guidelines of internal campaigns. You remember when he was still campaigning to become the ANC Youth League president, he did propose on numerous occasions when people said that the ANC doesn't use money to campaign for leadership positions in the party. He clearly said that is false, because in order for you to go and address branches in the Eastern Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, in Northern Cape, in the Eastern Cape, in the Western Cape, across the country, you need to have money to book flights to go to these particular events. In some instances, you've got to print T-shirts, you've got to prepare adequate resources, such as for drinks, such as for food, for these branch general meetings to sit, and also for your various caucuses to take place. You do need resources, you do need monies for your campaign managers and your lobbyists to crisscross the length and breadth of the country to try and woo other regional, zonal, branch, and provincial and other national structures to be in the same perspective as you are in order to go and vote for you in a particular conference of the ANC Youth League. He raised these matters going towards the 2015 National Conference of the ANC Youth League at Galaga Estate, where he lost against Colin Maine. Then subsequently, you've had the ANC going towards its 2017 54th National Conference. It was President Cyril Ramaphosa and his various campaign teams, such as led by his personal friend and advisor, James Mutlatsi, who essentially went around and got funds for the various activities that the CR17 campaign was going to have. He went in his filed affidavit to the public protector that he's the one who went to solicit that 500,000 rands donation from Gavin Watson to the CR17 campaign. So essentially, it tells you that the ANC, as a liberation movement, has not come up with proper guidelines for its internal campaigns in a democratic dispensation where it's no longer a liberation movement, but a party that is in government. They are essentially a political party with liberation roots and a liberation background. But in a post-democratic dispensation, where, for instance, if you look at the president's in his various guidelines that he proposed, he says that historically, leaders of the ANC before 1994 or before the 1991 conference that took place at the Durban Westville, where Cyril Ramaphosa was elected as Secretary General, leaders of the ANC used to be identified, they used to be approached to avail themselves for leadership positions. There would be no one who would stand up and say, I want to be the president of the ANC, I want to be the SG, I want to be this, that, and that's, or the DP. But since the ANC gained levers of power and access to resources, more and more ANC members became available for leadership positions which opened up the gateway for the manipulation of ANC processes and for the use of money to take over, which is essentially what the ANC today is grappling with. When you look at the diagnostic report that was presented by the then Secretary General of the ANC at the opening of the 54th National Conference, Gwede Mantashe, in saying that the ANC members today lack ideological clarity, the level of intellectual depth within the African National Congress is at an all-time low, and that the ANC is constantly perceived as an organization of the corrupt and is ideologically bankrupt through the use of money. So it's only now that they are becoming aware and conscious that they need to have proper electoral guidelines internally in order to be able to survive future factional battles that involve the raise of money. For instance, many people today dubbed Cyril Ramaphosa as the 1 billion rands president of the African National Congress. And it essentially tells you that going towards the next ANC conference in 2022, if the ANC at that point does not have proper guidelines for internal campaigns, someone else can stand up in the National Executive Committee of the ANC or the top six and go and fundraise 2 billion rands, for as an example, to contest for an ANC conference in order to be able to book accommodation at the ANC conference venue, wherever it is, for his own delegates, to provide transport to the venue for his own delegates, because it is proven in ANC historical conferences that those who may not have been in the same perspective as you are may not have adequate accommodation, may not have adequate transportation to the venue, and may not be there on the most important day and night, which is the voting night where the ANC conference, where the ANC president or leadership is voted in. So essentially the issue of fundraising and how much can a candidate raise if he or she is available for a leadership position. How much can they raise? How much can they use? And where do they declare these particular funds that they've raised? The president in the proposed guideline says that those who campaign and who source funds must then be able to submit audited final results of that particular campaign of theirs to the Integrity Commission of the party, which will also be subject to the South African Revenue Services for tax purposes.
All right, Mkila Maseko, our senior political reporter, speaking to us about the Integrity Commission. Thank you very much for dissecting it for us. We appreciate your time here on The Agenda.